Hi, everybody. We're coming up on about the 1 year anniversary of the George Floyd death and the riots from last year. And I just wanted to take a minute and talk about how things have changed here in Minneapolis, where I live. Initially, I did talk about some of the things that I experienced during that time and um, how difficult and troublesome it was within the community and devastating to see so much loss. I mean, and people were filled with so much emotion and they wanted to get their point across and they want to express themselves. Um, but at the same time, some of the things that were happening, um, it wasn't from everyone that lives in this community because some things, people that live in this community would not destroy the things that they need to survive every day, gas stations and restaurants and grocery stores and Montessori schools and things like that. But those things did happen. Here we are, almost a year later. In fact, next week will be the 1 year anniversary of that. Um, those events that happened. And one of the court cases has been completed. Um, and I believe the sentencing for officer or former police officer Derek Chauvin will happen next week. Either next week, no, next month, sometime during the month of June, that will happen. And gas stations are slowly being rebuilt. It's a process. Cub Foods is reopened. For a while after the riots and everything, the grocery store was selling things out of a tent in the parking lot. It was really challenging and I felt kind of unsafe around that area because that's where the most heated tension was going on. I mean, we even lost a good library. And that's really sad because libraries are really important to me. But Cup Foods is back open. People are shopping on the inside. They're masked up, but they are shopping on the inside, which is awesome. Target is back open again. Target during the riots, Target was looted and people looted and pillaged and just there was so much destruction. It was just incomprehensible. It was terrible. But they are back open. And today I found out that Popeyes is going to be rebuilt in the same location. Popeyes was kind of a big deal in my area. A lot of people really like Popeyes chicken. A lot of people like Popeyes chicken, which is why it just didn't make sense that it was burnt to the ground. But I'm happy to say that it will be restored. And I'm very excited to hear that the neighborhood is and the community is being revitalized. You know, everything is being restored, revitalized. You know, the market that I used to go to is closed because of some negative things that one of the staff there at the market was saying, and that staff was related to the owner of the market. Some things that were kind of biased in a racial way. Um, but another market has opened in its place, and it's a Mediterranean market that offers similar types of food. It's not on the same grandiose scale as the old market. I'm not trying to hate on the new one, but the old one really had everything that I like to shop for because I really appreciated being able to do the variety of Mediterranean foods and having all the spices from all the different countries and the food from Greece and the food from Africa. And so I don't have that option right now, but what I have is on a smaller scale, but that's okay. I'm going to work with it and look for other options so that we can get back to heating things up in the kitchen because it's nice to have some variety. Variety is the spice of life. Um, I mentioned that the gas stations are coming back, right? Farmers markets opened up a week ago. Yay! Fresh food, local food. That's something that's good for everyone. So, for anyone that has time and a few bucks, the farmers market is a great place to go and get those things that you may need. And for people that get those food commodity boxes, in some communities, the companies that provide those food commodity boxes or the organizations that provide them will give market bucks, as they call them, like a gift certificate to take to the farmer's market and redeem it for that amount in market bucks so the person can shop at the market and basically get some really good produce and stuff for free, basically produce and dairy and whatnot. But another good thing about farmers markets in my area, anyway, is that you can go to the market and if the vendor, the actual farmers market leader, may have a little table set up and you can ask them if they have market bucks. Some of them that have market bucks, which looks kind of like a wooden nickel, it really does look like a wooden nickel. For people who are on public assistance and get food stamps or EBT card or SNAP or whatever you may call it in the area you live in, you may be able to cash in $10 worth, either five, I believe like 10, $5 or $10 and they give you double that amount in farmers market bucks, which stretches your dollar a lot farther and helps you to be able to get more food that you can take home. And if you get a whole bunch of onions and stuff, don't forget about dehydrating half of them because then that way it stretches them out a lot farther. You know, it's nice to have stuff fresh, but if you're able to get a bulk amount of food, take part of it, put it in the refrigerator, cupboards, or on the counter, or wherever you need to. The other half of those tomatoes and onions and carrots and peppers and different things can either be frozen, dehydrated, freeze dried, canned, do it whatever you may to be able to have a little bit of something stacked up for those times when you may need it um, in the event that someone becomes sick or if for some reason there be another pandemic or community crisis that goes on, whatever kind of crisis it may be. It's nice to have a little something stacked up. And don't forget that the preparedness website that the government has says that it's good for people to have. They say 3 days of this or 3 weeks of that, and they it talks about that at ready.gov. That's ready dot gov. It talks about preparedness. It really does. So it's like I'm not just being some weird goofball that's just saying, "Hey, prepare, prepare, prepare." And there's a lot of people out there saying prepare, prepare, prepare. But if the government is telling you that too, then I think that the light bulb needs to be on. That doesn't mean you need a million rolls of toilet paper. It doesn't mean that your toilet paper has to scrape the top of the ceiling of where you live and that you have to take all the hand sanitizer and no. It means to be ready. That means if you maybe haven't if you use a CPAP machine or have some sort of health condition where you need some distilled water, get one extra container of that water to have to the side in case something happens, like when I said when I moved to a new city and the power went out and every store was closed and the gas station were closed and everything was closed and I was so new, I wasn't able to get anywhere because I didn't keep enough gas in my car and I didn't really know the city well enough to know where I might be able to find some other things. So having your dried rice, your rice, your dried beans, or extra canned goods, whatever is your flavor of thing that you like to do, you know, it's good to put back two or three extra things just so you have it. And I'm not saying go for broke, spending all your money on anything for anybody. You have to examine your own needs and examine your own life and decide, okay, what do I really need? Like I've mentioned in videos before, you know, because of what I experienced with the lights going out and the devastation that I experienced, and I was just like, oh man, what am I going to do? Now I have those hand crank flashlights, and I have some other flashlights that are just battery operated. You push the button and it works. I keep a variety of flashlights so that I have access to something to help me see where I'm going. I also have the Dr. Prepare Power Pack, which is it's little. There's other people that, have the Jackery, which comes in a variety of sizes. Um, or the Blue Eddy, which is about as big as a sewing machine. Looks kind of like a sewing machine case, in fact. But the Dr. Prepare is smaller, it's more economical, and it works for me. So I look at my budget, I look at my needs. It does what I need for it to do. It will run 7 hours through the night and power like a CPAP or BiPAP machine. It'll power a nebulizer. It has a spot where I can plug a computer. I can plug up my cell phone to charge it. It even has a light attachment, which I showed that on one of my previous videos. So you can check back within the past couple of weeks, and it's on one of the previous videos. It does what I need, and I'm not trying to impress other people. I'm just thinking, okay, focus on what do you need. That's what I need. Bam, got it, and I put it to the side. What other kinds of things do you need? Power goes out, the water processing plants might go out. So you might need a way to make sure that your water is safe and clean. I mean, and some people buy water purification systems, and other people may just get the water pitchers that have the filter in. You know, I've used those Brita filtering pitchers and the Brita filtering water bottle, which I carry that one around with me often. But I also do have the travel Berkey. And although they call it a travel Berkey, it's pretty tall. It holds a gallon and a half of water. And basically, the water is filtering from the one section down into the other section. And, there's actually a way that you can do that without spending all that money on the Berkey. And I like my Berkey. I'm not going to say that I don't. But there is a way that you can do something similar to that. It won't be the 100% Berkey quality. The Berkey has such a quality, and it has the two filtering um, pieces that go inside, and it filters out 99% of everything that you can imagine, including like meds and you name it. It's awesome. So it was worth the cost for me, but I wouldn't buy the big Berkey or one of the other ones because It's too big just for me, and I couldn't afford all that anyway. I'd rather save my money and use for other things. So I got the travel Berkey, like I said, which is still pretty decent. It holds a gallon and a half of water, um, which works well enough for me, and it filters very well. The water comes out clear and really nice, and it just works very well for me. There's other things that people might want to do to be prepared in the event of an emergency, like asking your doctor if it's possible for you to have an extra week or two of medication, possibly. Um, don't know how anyone's medical providers feel about that, but just in the event of an emergency, because the way everything came down this past 12 months, there were a lot of people that weren't able to go into work. And if people weren't able to go into work and you were in need of medication, how long do you think it was going to take for you to get that medication that you might need? Especially if it's life saving medication. Just some things to consider. So, and yes, I don't know if you saw, I use the metal reusable straws, the stainless steel reusable straws, and I've got the straw cleaner and all of that. Um, it just keeps me from creating more waste for landfills by using plastic straws. So I do like doing whatever I can for the environment because um, what we put in the earth is going to recycle and eventually come back to us in some way or other, by the food that we're planting, um, by the air that we breathe, by the plants that grow. It comes back to us one way or another. So I try to be mindful of what I'm doing. Because in the previous video, I believe I mentioned that I wanted to do some gardening out in the yard behind my building. Um, but the soil's been tested and it's not really safe to eat things that are planted in that soil in the condition that it's in right now. So it's going to take a process of some work to get things into a better place. So meanwhile, this year my garden will be my edible garden will be indoors. And there's a variety of things that can be done, like hanging tomato planters and just letting the tomatoes hang down. I don't know if you've seen those in the stores near, where you are, Target or Kmart or Walmart or even the Family Dollar had those for sale for $1, which is why I grabbed one because it was like, it's only $1. You can hang it up, put the plant in there. It actually grows upside down. There's a strawberry plant one as well that does the same thing. And as they grow out, you can visibly see the fruit growing there, and you can pick it when it's ready, put it in the container on the table, and let it continue to ripen or do whatever needs to happen, and then it makes the cleanup a lot easier in the end. Well, don't want to take up too much of your time this evening, um, but those are just an update on how things are starting to look here in Minneapolis, and I'm really happy to see the regrowth, the revitalization, and the community really coming together on many levels. People have stopped focusing on all the violence and they're really starting to come together and work towards building a better community because love is the answer. People can be angry all day, all night, and always have something to say or to complain about, but love is the answer. Speak with the tongue of men or angels, but if you don't have love, you're just making noise. So, love is the answer. And I'm very, very happy to say that it's nice to see the positivity that's going on around me. Hope you're having a positive week. If not, just remember this too shall pass, and love is the answer. And I'll talk to you again soon.